This is a Brooklyn-bound 2 train. The next stop is
Wall Street.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back. This is Not Your Advisor with NYU Grad on Tuesday, September 2nd, podcast episode 518. If you had the long weekend, I hope you had a great Labor Day. We're going to touch base on the markets, but I want to rehash a subject because major indices and a lot of stocks are at support levels near the 50-day moving average. And I want to cover how to explain moving averages more on the qualitative definition versus just numerical mathematical definition. And I think this will bode well for both younger investors, students, like in high school, junior high school, or just kids, as well as adults that may not look at technical analysis. I'm not going to cover how to calculate moving averages. It's fairly straightforward. You can look that up on Google. I've written about it in the past, but I want to talk about the psychology of why in multiple time frames moving averages can serve as support or resistance areas where prices pause and reverse or prices pause and slice through. So think about your local town, your local main street, the stop sign down your block, and your interstate that you commute on or travel on with your car. If you think about, let's say, a 1-minute chart or 5-minute chart, intraday charts, think of some folks like to use exponential moving averages. Some folks like to use simple moving averages. Some combine the two. I actually combine the two when I look at daily charts or for longer term like monthly charts. For intraday, I don't use moving averages too often, but think of, let's say, a 21-day exponential moving average on a daily time frame. I will consider that like a stop sign at your local town. And if you have human beings in vehicles, it's the same thing. You have human beings in cars. And when you get to the stop sign, most people adhere to the psychological trainings and we stop, or we slowly stop and roll through if there's no cars. And then if you expand to a longer view of your neighborhood, let's look at your main street. They'll have traffic lights. That's kind of like the 50-day moving average on a daily chart. There are more people involved. People will typically stop at a red light or slow down at orange. Some will run it. But typically, folks stop. And then if you look at a larger town going closer and closer to major bottleneck areas, going into bridges and tunnels and interstates, you'll have even more cars. And that's kind of like the 200-day moving average. Now, typically, as I noted, psychology, humans were trained to adhere to those traffic lights and will slow down and stop. Typically, in a bull market, moving averages like the 50-day, like the 200-day, work as support. If there's a sell-off, we get down to the 50-day or the 200. It usually is a good stopping point where you'll find many people are trained, either institutional or individuals, to buy the dip, to buy the 50-day, to buy the 200-day. So think of it in terms of psychology, right? So on the same side, if we're in a bear market, those moving averages will serve as resistance, will bounce to the 50, bounce to the 200, and will fail. Now, if there's an emergency situation, like the COVID lockdowns, like the tariff news when it first came out, you'll hear fire trucks, sirens, or emergency ambulance vehicles behind you honking. Get out of the way. Just blow the stop sign, blow the light. We got to get through. And when there's an emergency, these moving averages don't serve the function that they were supposed to provide, and everyone just goes through them in an emergency panic. So that is my basic way to explain moving averages on a qual side to youngins who are trying to learn technical analysis for the first time and why they work for the most part, and prices typically adhere to them. So on that topic, if you look at the ES futures contract or SPY, we're getting very close to the 50-day moving average. Just a reminder, this was a free preview of the full Unlocked podcast episode, which you can easily access by upgrading to the premium service. With the paid upgrade, you get unlocked full daily podcast episodes when the markets are open, premium only stock spotlights, breakout and breakdown watch list, and real-time alerts in the intraday private chat room during the day session. I often cover member chart requests as well as the full archive of over 1,000 written and podcast posts that include educational content to learn how to read the markets using breadth, macro, and technical analysis through the lens of auction market principles. You can find everything at notyouradvisor.com. Later.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.